cool and terrifying and mysterious all at once, depending on where you sit and what part of that equation you are. From a consumer standpoint, to your point, I mean, incredible the level of firepower available to you that once was not. If you are the financial institution or you're the financial advisor or the healthcare professional, you have a whole other set of concerns, which are important to talk about as well. So yeah, to your point, we're in the early innings, and I share your excitement, I think, along with many startup investors. Well, tell me more about your current ecosystem. So you, over the years, have been very involved in kind of the Israeli business ecosystem, and that's not something that many of our listeners are familiar with, certainly not something that I'm familiar with. So I'd love to just hear a little bit more about how that conversation is playing out locally there in Israel in the business scene. If there's any nuance, and obviously there's some interesting geopolitical things happening right now that are potentially worth talking about. But from a business standpoint, I'd love to just hear more about what's happening on the ground right now and how AI is transforming the Israeli ecosystem.
Israel is very unique in its high-tech sector. First of all, we're in the top 3 of R&D per capita in the world. We're in the top 5 most successful startups in the world on the NASDAQ. We have some of the largest companies all have R&D centers in Israel, think tanks. And acquisition-wise, we've had some of the most and largest acquisitions around the world. What's unique about Israel and its tech ecosystem is, first of all, there's this culture in the country, which is very different to the UK and the US, which I'm just referencing them because I'm more familiar with them, than I am Europe or Asia and other continents. Where, because the country was founded in a complicated way and there was war, it meant that the culture is very focused. And there's a word in Hebrew called tachlis, which is essentially cut the crap, if I can say that. And it means get straight to the business. What's the meat and potatoes? What's the main thing here? They don't need the fluff. No one needs the fluff. They want, how am I getting results? What are the results? Can we make it? Let's make it. And it became part of the culture to push. And there's an urgency because all of these things are happening in the political landscape. It creates a lot of urgency amongst the people to push forward and drive things forwards. And what is also unique about Israel, beyond the culture, is the relationship with the military. Military and defensive technologies and the army are wholesomely integrated into the technology ecosystem. So if someone starts a company, you have access to the front line of technologies and resources and companies, and they are proactively engaged in helping startups to grow, to do R&D tests, to try different models. And that creates a very powerful unity within the country. It's not just a startup and a corporate and government and military all working together. So that can create some really incredible technologies. And because it's a country that's very focused, we have R&D centers from Microsoft, Intel, NVIDIA, as well as companies that have started here that are fueling knowledge into the country, as well as the education systems are again, tightly knitted. It's a small country. So everything is very close and very knitted. Everyone will know everyone. And a lot of these really amazing companies are from guys who served in the army in the highest levels, and then they got into university, and because they went straight into the army, they become very serious guys. They go to university, they're not really partying. They are getting a study from these professors and then going out because they want to just pioneer.
A quick note before we continue the conversation. Alongside the Diligent Observer podcast and newsletter, I also run an outsourced operations service specifically built to serve angel networks. My team handles things like initial screening, social media, newsletter prep, platform management, and a whole lot more. The kinds of things that either aren't getting done or shouldn't be done by busy community leaders. If that sounds interesting to you, send me a note. Now, back to it.
So there's also this vision, and I think it's part of the country, this vision of we want to help the world. And I know, again, I'm separating politics and I don't want to discuss that because I want to think about the business sector and the tech sector and how we think and how the country thinks in that area is we want to help progress the world forwards. We want to help the world progress in health, to have better medical care, that you can take care of yourself. We want the world to have better agriculture, more trees, more forests, more oxygen, better ways of sustainable farming, sustainable living, sustainable being. We want better cities. So we want better autonomy. We want better transportation systems, and not just within a city or a country, but also exporting and importing. You know, there are areas we're really bad at. We're really bad at clothing, retail, e-commerce. Those are not strengths of Israel. We are not good at those. We don't manufacture those things, but we're really good with these other things, which are very fundamental. You know, we're very good also with law, and finance. We're okay. We're not the best at finance. We don't have. We're not a financial hub, to say the least. Not like New York or London, actually, or Frankfurt. And I think that's what makes the atmosphere very unique, that we live within that culture, and then there's that unity, and then there's a bigger vision with what we're trying to do. And then because we've had very successful in high tech, the VC here is venture capital is quite good. And they tend to take a look at business economics and try to really understand how these economics of this company will affect the world, not just to increase the amount of revenue and money within an industry, but how it will disrupt that industry also. So I've spoken to startups, venture capital firms, that they've seen amazing startups that could make a lot of money, but they realize that the money that company makes will reduce the money in the industry, because so you got to think, how is it creating a blue ocean that removes competition and drives the industry forward, or is it disrupting it in a way that's unaffected? So, yeah, there's considerations to make in a larger macroeconomic scale. I'm diverging.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Diligent Observer. I'm your host, Andrew, and if you're an angel investor looking for essential angel intel in 5 minutes every week, I think you'd enjoy my newsletter. I send my best stuff, interesting deals, and more straight to your inbox so you never miss a thing. Subscribe today at thediligentobserver.com.